Welcome to another episode of Coming Up Milhouse.
And today, we have cats.
We have both cats joining us.
For a second. Boom, down goes one.
Another one will jump down two.
Down goes two.
There we go. Today we all four watched Season 7, Episode 3, Home Sweet Homediddly-Dum-Doodily.
Home Sweet Homediddly-Dum-Doodily. We got Flanders takes the Simpsons children into his flock because Marge and Homer, they go on a little bit of a day spa trip that turns a little disastrous, and Child Protective Services comes and gives them a check, and they take the kids away until Marge and Homer can attend some classes, which is my favorite part of this whole thing, and we'll talk about that, and get their parenting skills under control so they can get the kids back. And the whole time, Ned is giving them his Nedderisms. Bart and Lisa aren't buying it too quickly, but Maggie's taken to it a little bit.
Maggie's getting more attention than she usually does from any father figure in her own home. So she's feeling pretty confident as a Flanders.
Yeah, but lots of good Flanders jokes. The clash between the Simpsons and the Flanders is always just, it's great stuff. When they set this up, they made some a good leeway into a lot of jokes you can do just in general with that whole thing. And this episode emphasizes that. And I like it for that. It's cool. So why don't we jump into our thing, to our lines. Give me line number 1.
If you leave milk out, it will sour. But if you put it in the refrigerator, or failing that, a cool wet sack, it'll be fine. That was part of the parenting classes that you mentioned a second ago. And then they learned that, garbage in a garbage can.
Makes sense. Marge is like, this is so humiliating. And Homer's taking notes like, oh, this is good stuff. I never thought.
Milk in the refrigerator. Garbage in the garbage can.
But put the milk in a cold, wet sack if you don't have a fridge.
If you don't have a refrigerator.
Hey, that's life lessons the Simpsons have given us all, because I never would have thought of that.
Nope.
I never had to do that, but, hey, in a pinch, whatever.
I guess. I don't know that I want to try that, but it would work for a little amount of time, I think. Short amount of time.
So my line is when they graduate from their parenting classes, everybody's getting handed diplomas, and they tell Marge, oh, wait a minute, you tested positive for crack and PCP. And she's like, what? And then 15 minutes later, and like, okay, we retested you, you're okay. And Marge says, the only thing I'm high on is love. Love for my son and daughters. Yes, a little LSD is all I need.
That's a good one.
Love for my son and daughters, LSD.
Oh, Marge.
That's great.
Yep.
All right.
Saxophone.
Was that your third?
Saxophone.
Your second line?
Yep, that's my second line.
They're so sad that the kids are gone, and that's how Homer copes with Lisa being gone. Saxophone.
And when Lisa is around playing the saxophone that he's not a huge fan, but he's missing it so much that he has to grasp on the things that they still have in the house.
Right. Makes sense.
What about your second line?
All right, so one of the things that leads up to this whole deal is Homer gets them a day spa trip, and they leave the kids with Grandpa, and that isn't a good thing. But the line that leads into that is from Homer, and he says to Marge, come on, honey, you work yourself stupid for this family. If anyone deserves to be wrapped up in seaweed and buried in mud, it's you.
I did like that line, too. Wrapped up in seaweed and buried in mud.
When you put it that way, it doesn't sound that fun, I guess, but...
No.
Apparently it does the trick, I don't know. Never been seaweed wrapped, so why not?
I have heard of people that have, so.
I'm not knocking it. I'm sure there's something to it. People pay good money.
Right? Well, I'm
yeah.
sure they spend way more than they should on that.
Yeah. All right, takes us into scenes. What do you got for scene?
Well, the way that Homer gets his spa tickets is my favorite scene of the episode, honestly, and that happens right at the beginning. And he goes to the local Bentley dealer, which why there's a Bentley dealership in Springfield, who knows? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's in Shelbyville, and Homer just went there. But they are claiming free spa tickets for a test drive. So he's Count Homer, and he has his monocle, and he's driving a Bentley with a uppity salesperson, and then he's asking how this car is going to benefit him over a train, per se. And the salesperson says that this car massages your buttocks while you're driving. And then, so, Count Homer, may I sign you up? No, yoink! And he takes the spa ticket out of the guy's pocket. It's the best.
Count Homer.
Count Homer.
Over a train, which I could also afford.
Yes.
Great
some
stuff.
Silly stuff. There are some other really great scenes in this episode, but that one was my
I
favorite.
love it.
What about
it's
you?
amazing. So, okay, back to the parenting class, because apparently this is my favorite part of the episode. So, they're doing like role playing, and Homer and Cletus are role playing, and Cletus is the child and Homer's the parent. And Cletus says, "Oh, Pa, I cut myself on the screen door again." And then Homer does the Bart Strangle thing. And he's like, "You cotton picking!" And then he's like, "Wait a minute, no. I gotta pass this for my kids." And then he completely, does a turnaround, and he says, "Oh, son, let's stop the fighting and the feuding and get down to the loving," or something like that. And then Cletus is like, "I love you, Paul." Homer's like, "I love you, Cletus," and they hug.
And then cry.
Yeah, and then the people in the class start cheering, and some of them have guns, and they're shooting them in the ceiling. Yahoo!
Parenting class.
So, the fact that Homer and Cletus, had a moment.
Yeah, and they have a hoedown.
Yeah.
It turns into like a huge party and shooting. Yep.
They're like, yeah.
So silly.
It's amazing.
So silly. What about your winner?
My winner is, drumroll, the lice monkey. So another one of the things that leads to this is Bart has lice at school in the school picture, and they're like, "What could have caused this?" And there's this flashback scene where he finds a monkey in a basket at like Pier 1. Yeah. And it's climbing around on his head and blah, 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 blah. I picked it as a winner because I imagine this grand story where this monkey ends up in a factory overseas somewhere and gets in a basket and gets shuttled to the United States and ends up in Springfield or wherever the Pier 1 was, and comes out and finds Bart and is now free. I just envision this whole crazy scenario that doesn't exist, only in my mind. But that is one cool monkey, man. He had a road to get there, and he got there. So that's my winner.
Good plan. Well, winners were hard for me to choose this
That's
episode.
why I've chosen these.
Yep,
It's hard to
and
find.
I am actually going to go back to your scene, and I wrote Cletus down because he's in parenting class, so he's learning some skills to help out with his, I don't know, he's had 17 kids in other episodes. He's got a lot of kids.
Yeah.
He needs some parenting skills, but he gets a hug from Homer, and then they celebrate with a hoedown. So that was my winner. Losers, on the other hand, they were plentiful this episode. So who's your loser?
Potato sack guy. Back to the parenting class. So Marge is up there telling her story, and she's all forlorn, and she's like, "Oh, and they told me my son had lice, and my daughter was wearing a potato sack because there's this whole thing about Lisa had problems.
Lisa bitter tongue and her I think her psoriasis. I don't know. I don't remember what. She had some other
somehow
issue.
she ended up in a potato sack.
Yeah.
And this guy gets up in the class and he goes, "Is this a story going anywhere?" He's scratching his head and he's wearing a potato sack. And I'm like, dude, you're an adult, you're in a parenting class, you got lice in a potato sack. Something went wrong some way down the line for y'all. So he's my loser this one. What do you got?
I went with Reverend Lovejoy this episode.
I thought about that.
Because in this episode, the Flanders discover that the Simpson kids have not been baptized, and they decide, well, Ned faints over this news and then calls Reverend Lovejoy, and he decides to take matters into his own hands, and they race to the river, and then the Simpsons find out that this is happening, and in the midst of all that, Reverend Lovejoy is moving his trains, and he's got his train set on like a board on a train board so he can better play with his trains, and then Homer barrels right through his train set, and Reverend Lovejoy is quite upset about that. So he's my loser for this episode for sure.
I get it. That's a good one for sure.
Again, multiple options out there. So please share who your winners and losers are in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe. You may be questioning at this point that if you are just now joining us for season 7, you may have noticed that we covered the sequel to Who Shot Mr. Burns for episode 1, and now we're covering episode 3. So please go back into our channel and you will discover that we actually covered Radioactive Man, which is episode 2 of season 7, with YouTube's sensation Luke Salmon for his request.
A special birthday request, and you'll find it there. It's in there.
Yep. So go back and watch that if you're watching these episodes in order with us. And until next time,
Jiminy Jillikers!